All right, now let's move on to the Boy Scouts. Now, the whole debate about the Boy Scouts and the anti-gay policy has taken a new twist, and California legislators are considering a law that would basically, if any nonprofit organization, youth group, discriminates based on sexual orientation, that group will lose their tax exempt status. They will pay more taxes, and people who donate money to that organization will not get a tax write off or exemption or a deduction, if you want to call it. Uh, so there's a lot of debate about that, and there's a group out there that represents nonprofits, and they're opposed to this. And I thought people would be for it, except for the reactionaries and the anti-gays, the homophobes, the homophobia network. But no, we have a liberal, neoliberal, because that's what it is, a neoliberal group that represents all the nonprofits in California, and they're opposed to this bill. A lot of Democrats are involved in that organization. I know of them. And so here's an article I want to have your attention to. A proposed law in California to remove a state tax exemption for youth groups like the Boy Scouts that don't allow gay members would set a dangerous precedent, according to an association of nonprofits. A dangerous precedent. What's so dangerous about stopping anti-gay discrimination? What's so dangerous from treating gay people like human beings? I mean, what are these people talking about? Oh, Jose, you're misreading it. I'm taking it out of context. Ugh. And in fact, there's already case law from the Supreme Court of the United States that says that no private group or nonprofit, if they want to call themselves nonprofit, no group has a legal right, constitutional right, to a tax exemption. You get that? They've already decided this. And for this fringe, I don't know if it's not even fringe, it's a mainstream group that has been taken over by neoliberals. That's what you get. These multiculturalists. And look what's going on in England with these multiculturalists running around all over the place. Now you have East London full of homophobes from Asia and from Africa because, multiculturalists. We need to allow everybody in. No, you don't allow racists in. Homophobes and those who want genocide against human beings. Now, I'm not saying the Boy Scouts do that, but there are people who believe that it is a great idea to put gay people in jail and execute them. And those people have gone to Africa and supported the Kill the Gays bill in Uganda. So, let's read this further. The legislation introduced by Democratic State Senator Ricardo Lara on Tuesday would deny exemptions from state corporate taxes and taxes on items such as group sale. It would also require them to pay corporate taxes on donations and other forms of income. Lara, an LGBT advocacy group, Equality California, said the bill was aimed at groups like the Boy Scouts of America, which has faced increasing protests over its long-standing policy banning gay scouts and leaders. An expert said she believed it was the first time such a law had been proposed, though it follows the loss of corporate sponsorship dollars to the BSA due to the policy. No, this is not the first time Their states have these similar laws. In certain states, you cannot have a tax exemption if you are a nonprofit that advocates for child abuse, like NAMBLA. Oh, NAMBLA is a private, fruity little club, and they're nonprofit. So if I donate to NAMBLA, or some pervert out there donates to NAMBLA, they should get a tax deduction. They should get a tax exemption. Oh yeah. Let's subsidize that too. Everybody has a damn right to a subsidy now these days. And also political groups are not able to get tax exemptions. What are you talking about? There is tremendous amount of precedent that states that certain groups, certain individuals have no right to a tax exemption unless they violate the 14th Amendment or other amendments of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And the Supreme Court has already dealt with this issue. So, the California Association of Nonprofits, which has 1,500 member organizations, said it opposed the legislation in its current form, even though the group opposes discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity as outlined in the bill. Really? If you are opposed to discrimination based on sexual orientation, this law is geared towards not enabling or subsidizing that behavior. And these people are saying, oh no, we are opposed to discrimination, but hey, let's subsidize it. What the hell is going on? And I'm thinking that some people in this organization, they have influence from the Boy Scouts or the Mormon Church, and of course they came out with the clout of being the California Association of Nonprofits. I know some of these people. I had to deal with them when I started my nonprofit in California, and it was, I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but these people are weird. But here we go. Here's what they say. They say, we are against using the tax exemption as a way to compel change in a nonprofit's policies. So NAMBLA can get a tax exemption, right? How dare you try to change their policies of raping boys? Chris Lev Tumbley, the group's director of public policy, wrote late Wednesday in an email. Stripping nonprofits of tax exemption on ideological grounds is a slippery slope. Nonprofits are the embodiments of free speech in our society. Oh yeah, NAMBLA, that's what they say. When we disagree with a nonprofit's policies, we should vote by moving our donation dollars and our volunteer fee elsewhere. And I would add, not give them a cent of tax dollars. How about that? Where in the Constitution does it say that the Boy Scouts have a right to a tax exemption? Please show me. We've already stated that they have a right to exclude gays. They have claimed for the longest time, for the last 20 years, that they are a private little fruity club and they have every right to exclude gay people and atheists. They have that right because they are a private fruity club. Okay? Now, if they're getting tax exemption, well, now we're subsidizing a private fruity club. So it's not that private anymore. And the reason why we have these tax exemptions is because the state approves of what they're doing. Now, if in Texas or Mississippi or Utah, they subsidize the Boy Scouts, well, that's their deal. And thank goodness I don't live in those states. Well, I think here in Arizona, yeah, we subsidize it. But, these conservatives are always harping about the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment. State rights. State rights. Okay. Here's a state of California that has, certain values that are not the same as Utah or Texas or Mississippi. So they don't want tax dollars going to these little fruity clubs. That's it. They have a right to do that. They have a legislature. I'm sounding like Scalia now. They don't even heed their own words. Now, if Scalia were to take this case, let's say they pass the law, they go to the Supreme Court to try to challenge it, I wonder what Scalia would say. Would he actually apply his conservative, constitutionalist, textualist, originalist interpretation of the law, or would he be an activist judge, like what all of these right-wingers claim that the judges who rule in favor of gay rights are? Any judge that renders a decision that you don't agree with, you're saying, oh, that judge is biased, it's an activist judge, or he's a moron, he's a pig, or whatever. The association said it is difficult to estimate how many of California's 50,000 nonprofits could be impacted because there is no reliable data on how many discriminate based on sexual orientation. Huh? It's difficult to estimate how many of California's 50,000 nonprofits could be impacted by this law. Oh my God, we cannot. Oh please, we have to make sure that these anti-gays, they get their subsidies and their exemptions on a silver platter so we can make them feel comfortable at home. And yet all these gay boys and these gay people who are being discriminated and have, emotional trauma, basically, emotional implications. Fuck them. Let the state deal with it. Let the state mental health board deal with that. Oh no, but let's cut that because we have so many deficits because we like to pay tax exemptions for these fruity private clubs. To lose state tax exemption in California could be significant for a nonprofit organization, he said. Well, that's the motive. The bill is narrow in the sense that the provision applies specifically to youth organizations. But the question is how many organizations in California might be found to discriminate as outlined in the bill. So what this guy is saying is that we need to protect these anti-gay groups. We need to protect NAMBLA. We need to protect the KKK. They're all nonprofits. And it's not about, freedom. This is not about freedom of speech. You have every right to spew your garbage. You have every right to discriminate if you have a private, fruity little club. NAMBLA discriminates. They don't allow anybody in who's not a pedophile. You get that? Jeez whiz. Anyway, the law would require 2/3 approval of both houses of the state legislature to win approval. Lara said the state already bans discrimination based on sexual orientation, public accommodations, and government programs. Ooh, I wonder how many people were impacted there. Oh my God, these poor homophobes. We need to start a new organization called, anti-defamation for homophobes or something like that. Homophobes united against defamation. Our state values the important role that youth groups play in the empowerment of our next generation. This is demonstrated by rewarding organizations with tax exemptions supported financially by Californians. Exactly. That's right. It falls in line with the 10th Amendment. It falls in line with everything, with case law. The Supreme Court stated that you have no... these right-wingers who support the Boy Scouts. Oh, Boy Scouts, morally straight policy, whatever the fuck you want to call that shit. It's just discrimination and bigotry. That's all it is. I'll just lay it out as it is. These are the same people that want to take away tax exemptions for other organizations. They want to close tax loopholes? No, not for the super rich who don't pay a cent in taxes. For the oligarchs and the rich 400 families. They're not talking about, no, they're talking about taking away tax deductions. Because they know that there is no right to a tax deduction or tax exemption. There isn't. The IRS and these states tax as they please. It's in the Constitution. Government has the right to tax. That's it. Period. You're a constitutionalist? So why the hell are you going out there saying, taxation is wrong? It's in the Constitution. They're allowed to collect taxes on your income and to directly tax you. Where do they get these? It's all neoliberalism, Austrian economics. The fact that it is okay to degrade people, it's humane to discriminate. That's what they're saying. It's beautiful to discriminate and make somebody feel bad. It's beautiful. And I'm not saying to be I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm not saying that you should be doing that. But my mother taught me right. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. I mean, I just get along with people. Now, I'm on this show and I have my way of thinking, and so what? I'm not personally degrading anybody. I have my own opinions. But we have to call these people out for their hypocrisy and their stupidity. And if they hear us and then they still continue with their stupidity, that's on them. The Boy Scouts of America declined to comment on the legislation, which comes about 2 weeks after they postponed a decision on whether to end the policy at the national level and leave local sponsoring organizations free to decide for themselves whether to admit gay scouts. The BSA, a private youth organization, said it had received an outpouring of feedback on the membership guidelines after the potential change was announced in late January, and that it would take action on the issue at its national meeting in May. More than 2/3 of scouting groups are affiliated with religious bodies. Among the top religious sponsors are the Mormons, while the Southern Baptists on Tuesday passed a resolution rejecting the proposed change, according to Baptist Press. Pat Reed, an independent consultant for nonprofits and foundations nationwide, said she believed such legislation was a first. In this way, yes. But no. We have rules and regulations that state what is tax exemption, what qualifies as a tax exemption, and what doesn't. However, she said there was a precedent noting a 1983 Supreme Court case, yes, exactly, in which the IRS said it would no longer provide tax-exempt status to private schools that practice racial discrimination. A fight the federal tax agency won. Yes! The KKK or these segregated schools, they don't have a right to a tax exemption. If they do, please let me know. Because if that's the case, what's stopping the state from being forced to give tax exemptions to NAMBLA? Please, tell me. Oh, these people. I always find fault with their logic. They pretend that they're trying to protect children, but in reality they're not. Or they're trying, whatever it is that they're trying to do, they always end up fucking themselves or other people. And in this case, they're going to end up fucking themselves and other people, because if they're going to go to the Supreme Court and Scalia and the other three dictators, or now two maybe, Thomas and Alito, little Mussolini, if they get together and try to convince Kennedy and Roberts to join along in their lunacy and say yes, every private organization has a right to a tax exemption. NAMBLA, get ready. You're about to get free tax subsidies. The KKK, you guys get ready. You can write off all of your fruity little outfits and dresses that you wear and your hoods. We can subsidize that. The taxpayers will be glad to pay for that. Taxpayers will be glad to pay for your child pornography, NAMBLA. They will be glad to pay for that. And the Californians most likely do not want to subsidize a fruity little club that bashes gay people in a very soft way. I'm sorry. That's it. Period. End of story.